to actually get in the top 10. The room to be in the conversation.
Yo, 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 what is going on? It's your boy, Guardy3. And of course, I'm here with the face that runs the place, ladies and gentlemen, Mo Betta.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the N1 podcast. Brett and I ready to get to it.
Alrighty. So, of course, we, first off, I need to know, Mo, how's your bracket doing?
We're in trouble. We've had some technical difficulties, but you know what? That's to be expected. That is the beauty of the NCAA. There's always a couple of teams that you write off, and they just come out of nowhere and they wreck your bracket.
I will say I am very proud that I actually picked the Dunks to, win their game, so I predicted that upset. I'll take it. So, I don't know. I started out well. I hit like the first 6 games, and then after that, it's just gone completely off the rails.
You know what, though? Look, we enjoy it. That's the beauty of it. And let's be real. Everybody that's a fan of March Madness, trust me when I say there are more upsets to come.
Oh, for sure. Last time I checked, I think Oakland's up on Kentucky, so.
I was watching that game.
So, why don't we get into it? We can start off with some underrated players of the week. Of course, I love underrated players.
Mo, you love underrated players.
Absolutely. So, Mo, take us away. What you got for us today?
You know what? My underrated player this week is somebody that I'm going to make you reach back a little bit, Brett. I'm going to make you it's going to test your basketball mindset. He is a sharpshooter from probably the mid-'80s. I think he shoots 40% for his career for three. Now, granted, back then they didn't shoot the three as much, but he was a terrific mid-range jump shooter as well. His name is Dale Ellis. Spent a lot of his times with the Dallas Mavericks as well as the Seattle Supersonics. I believe he was an all-star with the Sonics. Dale Ellis was a 6'7" sharpshooter. What a lot of people don't know that was that in high school and college, he actually played center. But because he developed his jump shot and he got a little bit better off the bounce, he became a small forward. Just a guy that from any distance, that jump shot was water. Dale Ellis is one of the lethal jump shooters in NBA history that kind of gets lost in time. But he had a long, productive career. If you don't know, just go back and YouTube him, Dale Ellis of the Dallas Mavericks / Seattle Supersonics.
When you said a sharpshooter from the mid-'80s, for some reason my mind went to Downtown D. Brown from the Celtics. So, but Dale Ellis,
he had hops. I don't know if he was a great sharpshooter, but he had hops.
Yeah, they gave him the nickname Downtown. It was a good one, but no, I love the Dale Ellis pick. That is absolutely phenomenal.
And who you got?
It's just always tough, right? Because there's so many players that you can go to. But I saw an interesting stat, right? That Victor Wembanyama, he put up the first 100 3-pointer and 100 block season for a center in forever. The only other guy to do it, I didn't realize this, was Ralph LaFrentz.
Oh, I remember Rafe. I think he was a journeyman, but I remember him when he was on the Mavs. I think he was on the Nuggets as well at some point.
Oh yeah, no, he absolutely was. But my actual underrated player, just wanted to throw that tidbit of information out there, was trying to catch attorney time. No, that's cool. That's cool. I get it. No, I'm gonna go with Kenyon Martin of the Nets.
Kmart.
I picked from the New Jersey Nets, early in the 2000s there, and he found a way to continue to adapt his game, mold, and just be a productive role player throughout the entire time. I'll say part of that big trio there with Kmart, J. Kidd, and Richard Jefferson.
That Nets team, they went to back-to-back NBA Finals. And what I remember about Kmart from his days at Cincinnati, freakish athlete, terrific defensive player. Could finish at the rim, a rim runner. He didn't have a big offensive repertoire, but very effective player. Look, what I would say about Cade Martin is he had a really, really good career. I think you would agree about that. But his particular draft class, I don't know if that was 2000 or 2001. It might be the weakest draft class maybe in the history of the NBA. If it's not number one, it's top three for sure.
I can't remember who all came out of that 2000 draft class, but off
There's
the
a
top of
reason
my
you can't remember.
yeah, exactly. If I remember, it's just really just a terrible draft class. And speaking of draft, obviously we figure we can cook with some puppy prospects.
Let's do it.
It's about that time of year, right? We got the March Madness tournament going on right now, so I figure why not? Let's do some puppy prospects. So I thought I'd start this segment off a little differently because normally I just start talking about the prospect I want to, but I saw an interesting article linking who people say is the most dominant player in this year's NCAA tournament, Zach Edey, to the Milwaukee Bucks. And first off, Mo, do you have an insight or an opinion on Edey?
So from what I've seen, and I've seen a few of Purdue's games, long, big guy, very effective in the restricted area in the post. He's got limited range. I wouldn't say he's probably an average athlete. If you look at his skill set, could he end up? Is there a possibility he could go to the Bucks? I wouldn't say it's not out of the realm of reality, but what I would say is where would he play? Would he because at best he'd probably be a rotation player because he has limited range and athleticism. You can't pair him with Giannis because all he would do is clog up the paint, which actually would control Giannis. So because Giannis essentially, to me, I've always said this, Giannis is a big. He's not a small forward. Giannis he's a 4-4-5 combo. He has to play with a big who can space the floor, and I don't think Zach Edey could do that. That doesn't mean that he won't be an effective player. I just don't think they would spend a lot of time on the floor together. So I think Zach Edey is one of those kind of players, Brett, that whatever he is in year one, I think he'll be a much better player as he progresses in his development throughout his career. But I think he'll be an effective player. He's one of those kind of guys that I think will have a long, effective career, but I don't see star. I just think he'll be a very good, solid pro.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he can be a great player in the right system. I just don't think that right system is the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that would really stymie his development. Not to mention the Bucks have very limited draft capital moving forward. And, no offense to Edey, but I want to see us use it and get more athletic. Getting Zach Edey, we get bigger, but we don't actually get more athletic because one of Edey's issues is he just has very limited mobility.
Correct.
So we could get he'd be like a drop coverage big. We'd just be getting a younger version of a really raw Brook Lopez before the 3-ball shot.
Right. He'd be Brook Lopez without the range. Yeah, look, and you might be, I like your point better. Put him somewhere else because he is going to get, I think his body will grow out. You know how to say you have to fill out your body. He's already long and big, but I think he can fill out and get bigger and stronger. He's the kind of guy, to me, if you want to get the most out of him, he's the kind of guy you need to surround with shooters, right? Like offensively, surround him with shooters and then let him go to work in the post. He can be very effective that way. And because of his length and size, I think he'll be an effective rim protector. So, like I said, I think he's going to be a very good pro. I don't want to, I project his ceiling that he'll be a very good player. I don't want to use the word star because the game is so fast that only certain bigs can stay on the floor with how fast the game is.
Yeah, that's what's keeping me from saying he's going to be a star. I agree with you on the rotation part. I just think with how spaced the floor is, he's going to have problems defending in space.
Correct.
He's going to be an exclusive drop coverage big, and you're not going to be able to do a lot of different coverages with him without exposing his weaknesses. But I just thought I'd bring this one up. This is not the guy I actually had in mind for this week. This is the
Reed
guy I had
Shepherd?
in mind this week.
Okay.
So if anybody who don't know who this is, Reed Shepherd, point guard in Kentucky. Last time I checked, he's actually right now currently putting up a dud 0 points in 18 minutes in their game right now. But don't let it fool you. This kid does have the talent to make an impact at the next level. I have my notes here. I know it's a little long, but long story short, I think this dude could be a very good 3-and-D player. My only question with him, he's only 6'2", so I think that could really hurt him at the next level. But at least at the collegiate level, this guy's really active. He has insanely good hands, great instincts. So I think Reed Shepherd, he could very well be a problem at the next level, but he's got some things to work on, that's for sure.
So with his size, Brett, him being 6'2", for him to be effective defensively, he's going to have to be a great point of the attack defender, right? Can he play up into the point and be disruptive?
No, yeah, I think so. One thing about him is he has insanely good hands. Like, he has really good instincts. Like, he's averaging, I think it was 7/10 of a block for a 6'2" guard. I'd take that. But more importantly, 2.5 steals a game. He's got great hands. He's got great instincts on defense. Like, he's active. He's really active. His big issue at the next level, I think, is going to be you can shoot right over the top of him. But in terms of being a point of attack defender, I think he'd do perfectly fine at that. And not to mention, he's a very high IQ player. So I think he'll be even more effective playing off the ball, just digging into passing lanes, just reading the play and just kind of blowing it up. He's normally in the right spot. Take the charge, and my word, can this kid shoot 52% from three this year. Holy cow. I was trying to figure out a good player comp for Reed, but it's tough because not many people can shoot like that. And that's kind of what separates him. The first name that came to mind was almost like Mike Conley. Could be a solid defender, a little smaller, not as athletic. But this kid has the ability to go above and beyond that. But if
he can be like Mike Conley, that's a high compliment because Mike Conley plays bigger than his size. He's played bigger than his height for over a decade. So if he can be like Mike Conley, then that's a hell of a pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he will be. I think that shooting, though, I'm telling you, Mo, if that translates to the next level, he could be even better. But I think everybody's projecting him to be a top 3 pick.
Really?
And, yeah. I see a lot of top 3. I don't see him falling out of the top 5. The top 2 point guards in this class we've actually discussed on here now. It's Reed Shepherd and Nikola Topic. And I think because of the shooting and Reed Shepherd being a much better defender, I think he's going to be the one to go first.
So I agree. I'm not disagreeing that he's a first-round pick, but here's the interesting thing. Say a team like the Hornets end up with the worst record and they get the number 1 pick. I don't think the Hornets have a need for Reed Shepherd. You feel me? It has to be about also not just who has the pick, but who needs him. Because if they already have LaMelo Ball, and obviously LaMelo Ball is about 6'7", and I think he's really more of a combo guard, but they use him as a point guard. I don't think Reed Shepherd would be part of Charlotte's. At least they wouldn't waste the number 1. I won't call it a waste. They wouldn't spend it on him. So the question is, where do you see him landing? What would be a good fit for him?
I don't think he's the best player on his team. That's fair. I think when it comes to Reed, I think he's going to be at his absolute best in a fast-paced offense. So he's going to have to find a team that can really run and gun. Because as much of a great playmaker I have on here, he's a very quick decision maker. He's a great transition playmaker. Not necessarily that amazing, out of the pick and roll. He's still good, but he's not as good as he is in transition. When you really open the floor for him, that's when he'll shine. So I think trying to think of the right team, but I'm trying to think of a team that really plays with a lot of pace and can get him out in transition to do some serious damage.
The Pacers do, but they wouldn't have the pick, and he'd also be going there to be a backup to obviously the bad man. So if you get behind the bad man like that, you're not gonna get a lot of playing time because he is insane right now. Look, I like him. I've watched him play, and it's weird we're having this conversation as he's kind of struggling in real time. But I do think he'll be an effective player at the next level. It's just a matter of fit and opportunity.
If I had to take a guess, maybe he goes to the Wizards. They really do need a guard that isn't, Jordan Poole. I think that could be a realistic fit in the lottery. Lottery for him.
Maybe the Nets would be a good place. They don't have a point guard.
Yeah, that's there too. So here's my puppy prospect. And look, listen, all because he was struggling last time I checked. Don't count him out yet for the next level. He's had a great year so far. And then of course, switching up from puppy prospects, we got what we really needed on the show, Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers believes Deandre Jordan's jersey should be the first number retired in the Intuit Dome. Mo, do the Clippers have anybody really retirement worthy, not named CP3?
See, you took away the name. Yes, Chris Paul obviously is worthy, had the kind of career that's worthy of having his jersey retired. The thing is, he's had a great career, but he was great when he was in New Orleans. He was great when he came to the Clippers. I think CP3 has been a productive leader wherever he's been, but I think he spent the most time with those two franchises. So I wouldn't have a problem with Chris Paul getting his jersey retired, but he not only is one of the better Clippers, look at his career. He's got the resume to where it's worthy of having his jersey retired. Deandre Jordan didn't have that kind of career. It's not like he's a multiple-time All-Star or won Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. Deandre Jordan was a complimentary player. He was not a star. He caught a lot of lobs. He's got a hell of a highlight reel with him getting dunks because he was a terrific finisher at the rim. But at his peak, he wasn't one of the best centers in the league. He just wasn't. So I don't think his jersey's worthy of being retired. The truth of the matter is, when you look at the history of the Clippers, it should be a very short list of players that are worthy of having their jersey retired. Chris Paul's easy. I think Blake Griffin was a 6-time All-Star with the Clippers. You can make a case for Blake Griffin, although I'm one of those kind of people. I look at the Clippers as a whole, as an organization. They didn't win anything. They didn't do anything. Like, their biggest claim to fame during those years were they were beating the Lakers up, which they were doing. They were beating the Lakers up, but you know what they weren't doing? They weren't winning titles. They never won titles. They weren't getting out the second round. So honestly, nobody should get their jersey retired. They didn't do anything.
To be fair, though, during the Lob City years, who really wasn't beating the Lakers up?
No, but you got to realize the dynamics between the Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah.
Whenever the Clippers was beating the Lakers, they act like they had just won the championship, and I get it because that's the closest thing they were ever going to get to winning a championship. So it mattered to them. If nobody else, it mattered to them, and it mattered to Clipper Darrell. It didn't matter to nobody else. I just think Chris Paul is a great player. You can retire his number, but this man's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think Blake Griffin's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I know DeAndre Jordan's not going to the Hall of Fame unless he buys a ticket and goes in there and looks around like everybody else, but he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, you can retire anybody's jersey. I think Chris Paul's jersey's worthy of it. The history of the Clippers, though, man, they shouldn't be talking about jersey retirements, man. They shouldn't do that at all.
Yeah, I think your top three greatest Clippers are like Chris Paul, Elton Brand, Blake Griffin. If you add in the San Diego Clippers or whatever they're called, you can add in Danny Manning.
Well, yeah, if you go way, way back, then you're talking about Bob McAdoo, who's a Hall of Famer and stuff like that. But you have to go way, way back. Like in the end, the running joke in Los Angeles is Clippers be clipping. That's what they do. They just clipping. But they're not. What they're not doing is they're not putting up no trophies. They're not winning any championships, and that's not going to change this season either. So I hear what Doc's saying. He's trying to big up one of his boys because DeAndre Jordan was there with him during that run. He's just not. I don't think he had the kind of career that's worthy of getting his jersey retired. Plain and simple.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fair enough. As much as I love the Lob City teams, like one of my favorite players still to watch is Jamal Crawford, just because when he was on, it was incredible. Yeah, there's nobody that deserves their jersey retired from that team unless Chris Paul, but that's just if people forget how good Chris Paul was, he was runner-up to MVP to Dwayne Wade in 09.
I would probably retire Jamal Crawford's number, Brett, before DeAndre Jordan's. Because at least Jamal Crawford, he was 6 Man of the Year 3 times, right? Like he did do some unique things. He was instant offense off the bench and a big part of that team that made those runs. It's an odd thing for Doc. Of all the people that he could put out there, he said DeAndre Jordan, and I can't help but feel like, isn't he trying to take a swipe at Blake, at Chris Paul, like DeAndre Jordan? Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, well,
he might as well said Austin Rivers. You know what I mean? Like, he said Austin Rivers.
I'm shocked he didn't say retire Doc Rivers in the rafters.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Oh. Well, Mo, we got your segment up. Don't worry. Do better with Mo better. Do you want to start this one or do you want me to?
This week is easy for me because it's something that's been bothering me throughout the season. So for me, I would like the NBA's power that be. I want them to do better by acknowledging some of these young and up and coming teams that have been entertaining and fun to watch, like the Cleveland Cavaliers, like the Orlando Magic. Why don't they get more flowers, more TV time, more love? Versus, and this is weird for me to say, right? I'm a diehard Lakers fan, but what do people constantly talk about all the time? What are the Lakers going to do? What are the Warriors going to do? What happens when they match up against this team and that team in the first round? Or what? They're both fighting for the play-in. Why aren't we talking about the Timberwolves, who are actually one of the top 3 teams in the West? Why aren't we talking about Oklahoma City, who's up there with that young squad? They have a young, talented team right now, led by one of the more dynamic players in the league, in Shai Gilgeous. And this is the crazy part, Brett. They got like 1,000 picks. Sam Presti has I don't even know what he's going to do with all those picks. It's one of those use them or lose them, but they are so set up for the future that if he wanted to, with the amount of picks that he has, he could probably go out and bring in another established star to that team. But I don't think they want to do that. I think they're going to try to keep it more homegrown, more natural versus bringing in a superstar that's 30 or older. And I don't have a problem with that at all, because I do think the way they're doing it, it might be a wave that more teams want to get on and trying to take that shortcut through free agency. So I just need the NBA. I need Adam Silver and them. If you want to grow the league like you talk about, then shine a light more on some of these young up-and-coming stars along with their teams and what they're doing versus constantly talking about the old guard who are struggling. Like, think about this. KD, Steph, LeBron, where are they at, Brett? They are all near the bottom of the West, fighting for those final spots to get into the play-in. And I get it. We are talking about historically great players, but they're all closer to the end of their careers versus Shea, versus Donovan Mitchell, versus Ant-Man, and some of these other up-and-coming stars. They need to get more shine. You know what I'm saying? Like, time waits for no man. Let's shine more light on the young talent in the NBA.
Shout out to my 5th seeded Orlando Magic this year, killing it. No, I completely agree. Like, I looked at Bleacher Report the one day and they update me. They're like, oh, Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood are going to miss the rest of the season. I'm like, what hasn't played? Christian Wood isn't even in the rotation. Why is this even relevant to anybody?
I was laughing when I saw that because I was like, they act like Christian was playing. he was a pine warmer. They were putting him in when we were getting blown out. Like, he started off and they had him in the regular rotation. And the things that he does well, and you know this, he can shoot, he can score, he can put the ball on the deck in certain situations. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't rebound and he doesn't play defense. And when he tries to play defense, he doesn't keep up with the reads. So when somebody's calling out the switches and the reads, it's as if nobody's saying anything to him. And there's a reason why him being injured or not has zero impact. He wasn't playing, Brett, like you said. Why is that news when they go, Christian Wood might be available for what? For what? The only thing that I'm jealous of with him is he's got great seats, and I'd love to have great seats at a Laker game.
Yeah, fair. You know what? Sign mode to attend to get him those great seats. Maybe you can even get in there and set a hard screen or something.
Well, if nothing else, I mean, I can hold a clipboard like Christian Wood is doing. He's not doing anything. So yeah. Let me sit next to Darvin. We can chop it up a little bit. But look, big picture, seriously though, let's take a look at some of our young up and coming teams. Orlando's very unique. Obviously, they have Paolo, they have the Wagner brothers. But I would just tell people, like, you don't hear a lot about them. You don't hear a lot about Cleveland unless somebody actually brings them up, and that shouldn't be the case. If you're trying to bring up the league, yes, I get it. Acknowledge KD, LeBron, Steph, and the transcendent players. But again, like I want to say, they're going out. These guys, Luka and some of these other guys, they're going to pick up the torch, Ant and company, and keep it moving. Let's get them out there more. Let's put them on TV more.
My underrated player of the week this week was almost from Orlando. I almost went with Jalen Suggs.
That kid is a dog. I don't know if he's ever going to be a star, but he's a very good player. And defensively, he gets up in you.
Yeah, and his 3-point percentage jumped up from 32% last year to 39%. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that this team made a big jump. Is increased production from that backcourt has given that front court even more room to work with. And I already said before the year started, that's one of the best front courts in the league. Give them even more space to operate. They've been killing it.
They are a 2-guard away, and I'm talking about a 2-guard that can get you 20 on a given night and create for themselves, or a point guard. What they need is another 20-plus scorer, but they need it in the backcourt. They need somebody who can create offense and attack, and they don't really have that on a consistent basis right now. But they're literally missing that one piece. Give them that one piece, and they'd be one of the top 3 teams in the East easily.
Absolutely. My do better moment is one that went viral. James Harden, you can't be trying to block your own players when they're shooting a 3 ball. Come on now. What are you doing? You made the pass. It's not like you knew that was somebody else. That was somebody on the other team shooting.
I saw that, and his explanation was in the post game was, I was trying to bring some excitement to the team. And if you saw Kawhi's reaction after he did it in the moment, he brought the wrong kind of excitement to the team. I literally thought in that moment he kind of lost himself. Like, I thought he was trying to show out, right? But you could have just ran back the other way instead of trying to like actually go out there, because he did a better job of closing out than the defender did of closing out on Kawhi. He actually made Kawhi miss.
Who said that James Harden's not a lockdown defender? Am I right?
The guy just shut down Kawhi Leonard.
It was either that or my other option was Rudy Gobert airballing a dunk. As much as I love Rudy Gobert, that was brutal to watch.
You know what? That kind of goes to another conversation. Guess what? There are no shortages of blooper moves or moments in any NBA. It happens. Guess what? Rudy Gobert will get over it. I've been hard on Gobert, even though you're a big fan of his, but I give credit where credit is due. I do think when you look at what the Timberwolves have been all year long, I think he's found his place. And I love how they had been using him and Cat prior to the injury, because they had them on the floor a lot, but they staggered their minutes as well. I mean, I just thought the way they play defensively, you look at Minnesota with Ant, and the three-headed monster at center, because it is Gobert, it is Cat, and then what's the young man that comes off the bench?
Nas Reed.
Nas Reed's one of the best backup bigs, if not the best in the NBA. He also extended his range beyond the arc. So they attack you with multiple bigs. I think that what they're missing is they need one more guy other than Ant that can create and attack. Once that happens, and look, even without that, because of what Ant can be, because he can be so dynamic, I think the right matchup, they could very well make a trip to the Western Conference Finals. And even though I still think it's Denver's to lose, Minnesota's a very scary team. They really are. When they're whole, because of the way they can lock down, they're a scary team.
Right now, if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be drawing the Kings. That might be a good matchup for them.
I think it would be a good matchup. I think the Timberwolves win that series, though. I don't think Sabonis. I like Sabonis. He's not dominating that series the way he's dominated through the regular season. De'Aaron Fox, he's a bad man and it's a badder man. I think it'll be an entertaining series, but I don't think it'll be a long series. I would give that to the Wolves.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how the playoffs shake out. It's crazy to think we only got a couple of weeks left of the regular season.
It's getting to that point. Yeah, well, you know what? I always do things based off of when baseball kicks in, Brett, because when baseball kicks in, we're getting that much closer to the NBA playoffs. So I'm geeked for it. Like the regular season, this particular year for me has been kind of a drag. So I'm excited for the postseason, just to see like if one of these younger teams that I just alluded to, the T-Wolves or OKC or even the Magic, can one of these younger teams, Cleveland's a fairly young team, can they make a deep playoff run? I'm excited to see that because I think it's a lot more likely than not, because this is a very odd year. I look at the Nuggets and I say when they're whole, it's a matter of who's going to meet them in the Western Conference Finals. They're going to be there. I look at the Celtics. I think of the two teams, I think the Celtics are more vulnerable than the Nuggets.
Yeah, I like the Celtics. I really do, and I think that team should, in all reality, be the team that makes a run to the Eastern Conference Finals pretty easily, or maybe even the NBA Finals. But I still hate their clutch time execution so much. They just rely so much on tough shots, and it's so unnecessary. This is a team that if Tatum drives to the rim, he's going to crash the defense and draw two. If Jaylen Brown does it, he's going to crash and draw two. So I just don't understand, I guess, their instinct to just decide that in clutch time, all of a sudden, we're just going to strictly shoot threes. And if it's Tatum, he's going to make it the most difficult three-point attempt that he can think of.
That is my frustration. It's you can take a three, but there are good threes and there are bad threes. Late game situations, they tend to take nothing but contested threes. And I don't understand that because, like you said, Tatum can break people down off the dribble. In a pick and roll situation, Derek White can turn the corner and make you crash. Drew Holiday in pick and roll has the potential to attack and make you crash. So I think they have multiple players along with Jaylen Brown that can attack, and then you can kick. If you can't get to the rim, if you can collapse the defense, you can take a good shot and make a great shot. And they get too much to me. And I don't know if this is Joe Mazzulla just letting them go or this is just how they like to play, but it seems like more times than not in late game situations, the Celtics go strictly iso ball. And you have Drew Holiday and Derek White, and they don't really touch the basketball. So it's either Tatum or Brown, and everybody else get out the way. And I just think that's so predictable and so stagnant. It's weird to have that kind of starting lineup and not keep the ball movement going. Like the worst thing that can happen to the Celtics, Brett, is them get a 15 or 20-point lead because they will give it up just as fast as they got it. And their late game execution is just so inconsistent.
Yeah, that's what scares me about the Celtics too. Like half the time I feel like they need to be blowing somebody out, like obliterating them. Oh, by the way, breaking news. Kentucky just lost to Oakland in the first round.
Get
There
out.
goes everybody else's bracket.
Well, there we go. That's another gut shot to Mo. Hoo. Yeah. You know what? But still, guess what? I'll be tuning in because it's the beauty of March Madness. It really is. Like I said, there will be more upsets to come. This seems like this is going to be one of the years where a lot of brackets are going to get busted.
I think my biggest upset that I have predicted is I've predicted a 16 seed over a 1 seed.
Who's that?
I predicted for this upset. You ready? Grambling State over Purdue, baby.
Really?
The first number 1 seed to lose back-to-back years in the first round.
Wow.
We're going bold this year.
That's really bold, but I like it. I like it.
With March Madness, it's funny, right? Because I feel like you can do all the research you want, but it doesn't really matter. So a lot of times, like, I'll try to do my research, but I'll make some of these picks just off straight, like, vibes and, like, just guesses. Like, I just have a gut feeling about this game, and then I'll just go off my gut feeling instead of that. That's what I did with a couple picks today, and they panned out correctly, and a couple more of them clearly did not.
I think you're right. You could go with your gut and probably come out ahead just as much as if you studied and broke down film, or if you looked at the numbers and said, there's no way this team can beat this team. And then they get on the floor and they beat them. It's so unpredictable because here's the thing. You look at Kentucky and you go, they got a lot of talented players, but then they get out there with this team and they're like, we didn't realize they were this quick or this athletic or this aggressive. And before you know it, you can't shed them and they're on you and their confidence just builds. Like, I love that aspect of March Madness where an underdog comes in knowing they're playing with house money, Brett, and they just stay on the attack the entire game.
Yeah, that's what makes these first round games so interesting to me. Like when these like 1, 2, 3 seeds are in a really tight game, like you're letting their confidence build. This could go really bad for you really quick. And it's not, if the 14 seed loses in the first round, it's not like they care. That's what they're expected to do. So it's really all the pressure's on you. So
honestly, the longer it goes, the later it goes, they don't feel that pressure. You feel it, right? Because as the number 1 seed, pressure bust pipes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I hope everybody is enjoying their March Madness Thursday. It's definitely been a great first day of it, that's for sure. But we are going to be talking about Mount Rushmore. More specifically, who's on our Mount Rushmore of point guards and shooting guards for tonight. Now, Mo, I think we can agree if we start with point guards, there's 2 names on the list that I'm sure will be on both of ours. Steph and Magic. Did either of them not make yours?
They're both on my list, surprisingly, right? They're both on my list.
All right, so this one I'm really curious about because I feel like with a lot of the positions for like a Mount Rushmore, the top 4, like it feels like most of these positions have like a consensus 2 that are on there, and then after that it gets dicey.
It does, and ours will be different, I'm sure, on the back end.
Oh, absolutely. So, Mo, I'm curious. Who are your
number 3?
Yeah, who's 3 and 4 for you?
3 for me is Isaiah Thomas. 4 for me is John Stockton.
Hey, I can't go wrong with that, honestly.
So who do you got at 3 and 4?
It's so tough, right? Because I was going to shout out some of our older counterparts because I almost considered putting them on here. 3 and 4 for going pre-merger for me. I don't think I can make this list without mentioning the Big O, Oscar Robinson.
No question.
And then, of course, people just a lot of the time will point to his final record of 1 and 9, but
Jerry West.
Can't undersell how amazing Jerry West was. I think he has a legitimate case to be the 4th best point guard of all time. He was that impactful in his era. And that's one of the things I hate about what ring culture has done. It takes a guy like West and minimizes what he did just because he was 1 and 9 in the finals. And to me, that's just really unfortunate. I mean,
And it also leaves out the fact that he's 1-9 in the finals. But why is he 1-9 in the finals? He kept going up against those Celtics.
yeah, there's not really anything you can do running into the Celtics dynasty over and over and over again. And then my last shout out for old guys for point guard, Bob Cousy. Everybody wants to make fun of him because he can't dribble with his left hand. His moves are basic. Listen, that dude was the Houdini of the hardwood for a reason. He was a phenomenal player for his era, and that's what people got to understand, that the rules and everything were different in 1950 than they are now. If he tried to do some sham god in and out dribble in 1950, he's getting called for traveling, carrying, palming. Pick which one. It doesn't matter. He's glued at the end of the bench for committing like 5 violations in one play. So, but for my number 3, because this one was tough for me, I went with the Detroit Piston. I went with Isaiah Thomas.
See, we agree. We'd agree.
This one was really tough because there's so many great point guards that you absolutely can throw on here. If we're going what we usually do with our post merger, I would put Zeke on at 3. The 4th spot to me, stupid hard. I almost went with John Stockton. However, I do think that Chris Paul peaked higher, and he's also been an equally amazing player throughout a long stretch of time.
Oh, I would put him over there. I just have John Stockton on my list, but yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Those are my 5. Chris Paul and John Stockton round out my 5.
So yeah, if we're just doing all time, I would add in Big O, Jerry West. If we're doing our normal post 1978, I'll take Magic, Steph, CP3, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Magic. I'm Steph. I'm Isaiah. I'm CP3. I'm John Stockton.
That's fair enough. And shooting guards, I'm sure we can agree on who's at least the 2 guys on that one.
So we obviously know, and you can go Kobe, Michael, Kobe. I think those are the first 2. It gets interesting after that for some. For me, I've got D Wade at 3.
Yeah, me too.
And look, you can talk about, because we just talked about ring culture and things of that nature. But I'm trying to go by the breadth of your career, what you did. Did you change the game in any kind of way, or you brought something different to the game? Say what you want. I think James Harden is one of the top 5 2 guards of all time. I think he is. If I were putting a team together and I picked 2 guards, would he be my first choice? No. But we're talking about in a vacuum. So I'm going to say after Wade, it's either Drexler, who I'll put Drexler on there, and I'll put James Harden at 5. And a lot of people say, well, why not Reggie Miller? You didn't ask me who was the better shooter. You asked me who was the better player. And Reggie made a lot of big shots, but he wasn't a better player than Clyde Drexler. He never was. He wasn't. Clyde Drexler, say what you want, as the best player, led a team to the finals multiple times. And then on the other side of his career, as a 2 with Akeem Olajuwon, won a championship. And it wasn't one of those things where he rode. He averaged 19, 8, and 8 in that series. He basically outplayed a much younger, in his prime, Penny Hardaway. That's Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, I can't be mad at the Clyde the Glide pick, honestly. Dude was an absolutely phenomenal talent, and he took the Trailblazers to the finals. Not many people can say that, honestly. Dame Pride for years, he couldn't even pull that off. So
it's a short list. It's Bill Walton and Clyde Drexler. That's the list that took the Blazers to the finals.
So I'm in total agreement with you. My 3rd greatest shooting guard of all time, it's Dwayne Wade. I think we were really spoiled in the mid-2000s that we really got the Wade and Kobe at the same time. Getting 2 all-time greats like that at the same position at the same time, I think that's just absolutely unheard of. So I think we were just overly spoiled in the 2000s watching those two develop and play against each other. My fourth spot, this one was tough for me because it came, three names cracked the list. If I'm including players that played before 1978, I would add in the Iceman. I think
That's
George
easy. That's
Gerving should have.
different. Yeah, if we're not cutting them off, yes, Iceman is on my list, right?
I'll say, but if we're doing post 1978, his career, past 1970, kind of just was past his prime for quite a few of those years. So, to me, this list would come down to James Harden, Allen Iverson, or Clyde Drexler. I do love that Clyde mention. I think the hard part with AI, and I know people's first instinct is he took his team to the finals. He had that one amazing finals run. I still don't think that makes him the better basketball player than James Harden. I do absolutely think that James Harden's the better basketball player that peaked higher than him. So I would probably, if we're talking basketball sense, put James Harden actually as the number 4 guy on this list. The way I would consider AI is if we were considering off-court influence as well, because AI just influenced an absolutely new culture, new dress codes and everything. Everybody wanted to be AI. We're getting the cornrows. I thought it was cool.
The cornrows, the long sleeve.
I think that if we're going just strictly basketball talent, I do think that James Harden had a higher peak. And even though that AI had the one finals run, their playoff numbers are comparable. I think AI, I'd rather have him on my team. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like his playoff runs were like, his playoff numbers were like head and shoulders above Harden. So I'd probably go.
You brought up a great point. I think you brought up a great point. Look, Iverson is obviously, when you weigh Harden versus Iverson, automatically Iverson is more beloved, right? We would agree. He's more beloved. He's more revered, right? But you brought up a great point. Iverson has that great run where he took the Sixers to the finals. But that was the great run. He didn't take them to another finals. I don't think he took them to another conference finals. For all his failures, yes, James Harden, he's played in the same amount of finals as Iverson, even though he was actually, I think, 21 when he was 6th man of the year with Oklahoma City and he went to the finals. But as the best player, no, he didn't go to the finals. But I believe James Harden has played in like 4 or 5 conference finals, which that's probably 4 more conference finals than Iverson. So that is a fair point. And if you look at their peak, I'm talking about their very best version of him by the numbers, is actually not close. It's Harden by a landslide by the numbers. If you're into percentages, even though I don't think James Harden is what I would call a pure shooter, but just even on an efficiency level, he's a lot higher than AI, right? So I'm with you. If you look at it strictly on basketball, and this is not to say if James Harden got on a court with Allen Iverson, that Allen Iverson wouldn't give James Harden the business. I'm sure he would. To be fair, if they guarded each other, the business would be given both ways. But I do think that James Harden not only had a bigger peak, he had a longer peak. And James Harden did something that AI couldn't do, Brett. When he got older, he's actually readjusted his game. He's a point guard. He's a primary point guard now. He's found a way to extend his career and be relevant for another 2 or 3 years. And look, I love AI, but if anybody saw AI at the end of his career with Memphis, with Detroit, even that brief stint with Philly, that was sad. That was very sad.
Yeah, when I think of AI, I think of like an all-time great like floor raiser. But when you put him together with other great players, like offensively, it doesn't necessarily go well because Allen Iverson was a guy that really needed the ball in his hands to really succeed. So when you paired him with Carmelo Anthony in Denver, you can say it didn't work because he was older, but I think more so it didn't work because people didn't really respect Allen Iverson playing off the ball as a spot-up shooter. He didn't do the little things that make off-the-ball players successful. So as much as I love Allen Iverson, I think that he was an all-time great floor raiser. He could raise a really bad offense and make it respectable, like he did with that 0-1 team. But in a Harden versus Iverson debate, yeah, I think there's a clear answer to who's the better basketball player.
And let me ask you this, because I didn't have AI top 5 in point guards. I didn't have him top 5 in two guards because I feel like he's a tweener, right? He's not really a point guard, but he's obviously the size of a point guard. But when you look at a guy that takes, I think he's had multiple years in his career where he took 24 or more shots a game, you're clearly a two guard, or at best a combo guard. So it was hard for me to put him top 5 in either category, even though he is an iconic player. I don't think he's one of the 5 best at either position.
Yet, I think he's probably, for me, if I was doing shooting guards, all-time ranking, I'd probably put him 6. I think he's right in there in that, between 5 to 10 range easily. And I'd put him as number 6. I do, like I said, I do think that MJ, Kobe, Wade, Harden, and I even think that by the skin of his teeth, George Gervin was better also. And then I think we got Iverson.
The Iceman was a problem, so I love the pickup of the Iceman. And look, there are so many honorable mentions because I remember what Ray Allen looked like at his peak when he was with Seattle, when he was with your Bucks. People forget Ray Allen could take you off the dribble, and Ray Allen was dunking on people's heads. He was not just a spot up shooter. Reggie Miller was sensational, especially in clutch time. Mitch Richmond, The Rock, one of the first power guards, took you in the blocks and just wore people out. There are a lot of gifted and talented shooting guards over the course of the NBA that we just can't get into. Look at Sprewell. Sprewell, the ultimate slasher, great in the open court. There were tons of those guys. And I'm just talking about one era. I'm not even talking about if you went back, like you went back to the Iceman, you start going that far back, then I'm thinking about guys like Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler, guys of that nature. There were some really, really talented players back then in different eras. And it's hard to include everybody. But like I said, I like your list. I thought it was a fair list. And if you're an Iverson fan listening, I'm a big Iverson fan, but like I said, he can both things can be true. He is an iconic player. I don't think he was top 5 at either position. That doesn't mean that he's not great because, like Brett said, he's probably number 6 or 7 as a two guard, and maybe even as a point guard, you might have him top 10 or 11. I don't know, but he was an impactful player. But it was a very unique situation. Brett can appreciate this. Larry Brown put together a defensive minded team, and he put all those guys around Allen Iverson. And he said, Allen Iverson, you shoot the ball 20, 24 times a game, and these guys will be your dogs, and they got your back defensively. It worked. It worked perfectly for one season. It did. I saw that replicated years later with Derrick Rose. They did the same thing with Derrick Rose. And it worked to a degree until the Heat shut it down. And look, I look at Derrick Rose in his prime. Brett, was he a point guard or was he a combo guard? Because I think he was more of a combo guard.
He was definitely more of a combo guard. If I had to like shoehorn him into a category, point, but I think he was more combo for sure.
Yeah, but there's so many terrific players out there, man. I think Chris Mullin was a small forward, but remember Chris Mullin? Chris Mullin was terrific at Golden State. Like there were some guys out there that could get you buckets on the wings.
I think the hardest shooting guard to grade of all time is probably Tracy McGrady. It feels
that's
like
a good one. That's a really good one.
Because like peak T-Mac, like you can argue is right up there with the best of the best. Peak T-Mac was just as good as peak Kobe and peak MJ. He's right up there, peak for peak. Even in the playoffs, you say you can blast him for it because his teams didn't win a lot. That didn't stop him from averaging. I think he had one playoff with Orlando where he's at like 30, 35 a game. He was absolutely insane. Unfortunately, he's just a player that didn't last very long. His body broke down on him. So
early. What is McGrady? I want to say I think he's a 7-time All-Star. And you're right. At his peak, you could put McGrady in there, but I think because guys like McGrady and Grant Hill broke down so early, we acknowledge that they were great players, but I wouldn't have them top 5. I would. They're definitely in my top 10, but I wouldn't have them top 5.
No, I agree with that. That's why I think it's tough. Even if we expanded this to top 10, I think I'd have so much trouble on where to put T-Mac. Because I'm like, peak, he's better than every single one of you guys. He's up there with Kobe and MJ, but like longevity, I'm just like, oof.
And don't forget, McGrady was 6'9". Like he was actually bigger than both MJ and Kobe. He was a legit 6'9", had hops, could raise up on you. Just a bucket getter, man, and could do it all. I remember him early in his career at Toronto when they used him as a defensive specialist, and he could lock people down. You can appreciate this. You're a Bucks fan. You might not remember this because you're a little younger than I am, but you guys had a guy on your team for a stint, Glenn Big Dog Robinson.
Oh yeah.
And McGrady's Orlando team met the Bucks in the playoffs, and McGrady shut Robinson down, and he said he turned the big dog into a puppy dog because he shut him down. And he did. He literally shut him down. Like he guarded him, and he shut Glenn Robinson down because that's what he was capable of when he locked in defensively. So McGrady, we do that argument about if you win on talent, if you said talent-wise, McGrady might be one of the 3 greatest 2 guards of all time talent-wise. But if you go the breadth of your career, I can't put him ahead of a few people because the breadth of his career was so short.
Right? No, absolutely. No, I agree with that. To me, one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history. What if Doc Rivers didn't fumble the magic getting Tim Duncan? Then we could have seen what Tim Duncan, T-Mac, and Grant Hill.
And Grant Hill would have been like, remember that? What did he do wrong? It was something so simple. I think it was Duncan wanted to fly his family in or something. And
yeah, he wanted his family to be able to take the team plane, and Doc said no.
And Doc wanted to play hardball. Like, no, that's it. Now think about this. I'm the coach of the Magic. And where I draw a line in the sand is on getting Tim Duncan is, no, your family can't go on the team plane. Like, no, I'm going to get Tim Duncan. Your family can go on the team plane. Yeah. If it gets me Tim Duncan, I'm going to get him there, get him on the contract, and then we can have an argument about that later on after he's under contract. But I'm not blowing that.
No, if it gets me Tim Duncan, I'll buy his family their own plane. Like, it don't matter to me.
Tim, can I get you your own private jet?
Like, Grant Hill's body broke down, but I'm sure what could have helped slow down the process if he was a number 3 option behind T-Mac
It would have changed. Brett, great point. If Grant Hill is your 3rd option, you would have extended his career because he would have had to do less. And if Tim Duncan actually goes and stays in Orlando, everything that Pop had started to do after the fact, that doesn't happen. This dynasty, remember the Spurs dynasty?
Oh yeah,
they stop at the early championships that they got with Robinson and Duncan, but they wouldn't have got any more.
Oh, I completely forgot about that because that Magic team also had Mike Miller as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whew.
That was at the time he and McGrady were like best friends. So you get T-Mac, you get another spacer and Mike Miller, you got Tim Duncan on the block and Grant Hill on the wings. Like that team would have been problem.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm like looking at their depth chart right now. When you're looking at a starting 5, because I'm imagining you're running Tim Duncan at the center spot at this point. Ooh, Darrell Armstrong, Tracy McGrady, Mike Miller, Grant Hill, Tim Duncan starting 5.
And I like Darrell Armstrong. I forgot about him.
There's not many starting 5s that can match up with him, even back in the day.
No question.
Did you hear too? The G League Ignite is shutting down.
And why did they say they were doing that? Did they give details why they were shutting that down? Was it that they were losing money, or what's going on?
I didn't really see any details on it, honestly. But honestly, I'm not too devastated by it. Like, it feels like nobody was really developing that amazing for G League Ignite. Like, their best 2 success stories are Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga, which
that's pretty good.
Yeah, like it gets pretty good. But after that, you're starting to get into players like Marjon Beauchamp, and it gets real dicey after that. Like, I think overall, just so few players are really developing very well over there that I'm not really too devastated by this. I think a lot of those guys could very well develop better in college.
So if they're getting rid of the Ignite, does that mean that the players that were on the team, do they get consolidated into another G League team?
I would imagine they'd probably just give them a chance to go to another one. I haven't seen all the details on that, but yeah, I heard they were disbanding the Ignite, and I was just kind of like, oh.
I'm sad to hear that, but at the same time, look, I think the G League there's no question it has value, because there are a lot of guys, Brett, and you know this, they come out and they're not ready. They're not ready, and they need a year or two to further develop before they go to the next level. And then when they go, you can see it. Like, can we not see it in Jalen Green right now? Can we not see it in Kuminga? So it does. I think it does have value.
Oh yeah. Well, at least there's other G League teams that they can kind of fall on to. Man, it just feels like it's really NIL is what really did the G League ignited, because that used to be the big thing.
Well, that's the problem.
Get paid, and now with NIL, you can be in college,
make a lot more money than playing for the G League.
No, absolutely. And then, of course, our unfortunate news: Brandon Ingram was helped to the back tonight. So hopefully that's not serious at all.
I hope so too. BI's had some tough deals, bad luck with injuries. I hope it's nothing too serious, because again, I want everybody to go into the playoffs fully whole, because I do want to see what the Pelicans look like fully whole in the playoffs, because I think they're capable of going on a run.
Yeah, because the Bucks won their title. Everybody likes to call it the injury title or the hospital title. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to go to the playoffs with everybody healthy, so nobody can use that excuse on us. Like, if we lose to a fully healthy team, great. But if we beat them, I really need that for me. So it just seems like everybody looks for every reason to put asterisks on different titles, and it's just so weird to me.
They do. They put asterisks on the Lakers when they won in the bubble, but like I said, it counts. It's another championship, so I'm good with that. I think the Lakers and Celtics are tied at 17 apiece right now.
No, absolutely. Well, before we get out of here, Mo, because that's all the topics I got for you, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Just want to thank everybody for tuning in, for listening to you and I. Appreciate all the support for the N1 podcast. Check out everything that we have to offer at the Wire to Wire network. You've already listened to me and Brett, so please give us a sub, a follow. Any support is much appreciated. And we also have a Discord. We've got a Facebook page. So it's the N1 podcast, growing up, doing things big with me and Guardy 3. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Make sure you check out our Facebook page, and the link to the Discord is actually on the N1 Facebook page. So you can find everything you need on that Facebook page. Check out everything else that Wire to Wire has to offer. You can actually catch Mo in 10 hours for the morning show?
Yes, sir. It'll be coffee and sports in the morning. Me and Chris will be getting into topics. We'll be talking about a little NCAA action, some more offseason football trades, or free agent moves as well. Not to mention MLB is in full swing. And I don't know if you follow MLB that much, Brett, but I gotta say this, and this is off topic a little bit. That Ohtani thing, something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right.
No, it really doesn't. I have my thoughts on that as well, and I'm sure you'll get into more about it tomorrow. But yeah, something is fishy about that. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and y'all have a great rest of your evening.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.